Yeah,
If we want to go even further back on the disease, they came from men having intimacy with animals because a lot of these diseases were prevalent in animals before they ever were prevalent in
That's why I
humans.
said
Like
chimpanzee.
syphilis.
That's why I said chimpanzee
Yeah.
when I looked it up.
Andrew, let me go ahead and get your age and where you from.
Yeah, sure. I'm 41. I'm from Michigan. Thanks for having me up on your panel, by the way.
It's fantastic. Do you have a hill that you would like to perish on, or did you want to jump into the conversation that's currently happening?
Yeah, I'm happy to engage with the conversation that's happening. When you say hill to prepare to die on, you just mean like I can bring up anything?
Yes.
Yes, you can. And I say that with a heavy sigh because it's not been going great so far. So
Yeah, I
let's see if
understand.
you'll be the same or if you'll be different.
Okay. Well, like I'm against reparations. Would that be a good one to die on, that hill?
Oh, Lord have mercy. Okay, why are you against reparations?
Well, because there's nobody currently alive who ever dealt with slavery, including the YT people who are alive today. I don't think I should be held responsible for the sins of my potential ancestors, who may not even be my ancestors.
Okay,
So, real quick.
Oh, go ahead.
It's not like reparations are going to go to every YT person in America and tell them to open up their wallets or their bank accounts and take money.
That's
directly
exactly
from
what would happen.
Actually, so we don't interrupt here. I allowed you to speak.
Okay, that's fair. Go ahead.
And take money out of their wallets and give it to black people. That's not what's going to happen. If it's taxpayer money, then that means it's everybody who pays taxes, and taxes go to the betterment of society in general all the time. That's the point of taxes. So if you have a problem with that, that's a problem because black people are, one, putting into that bill, and secondly, we have been disproportionately impacted by laws and certain standards and things that have been enacted against us for the longest time, which have resulted in us being the poorest demographic in America. So yeah, it just seems as though, because nobody's saying that people who suffered are still alive, or that the people who implemented the suffering are still alive, but we're behind the eight ball because of the shit that your ancestors did.
All right. Well, let me give a rebuttal. The first thing that I would say, which is pretty obvious, is when you say, yeah, it's not going to dive into the wallet of every YT person, just all the YT people who are payers, that would still be the overwhelming majority. And the argument falls flat anyway, because all it's saying is, as long as you don't have a job, I guess, or you're not taxed in some way, this isn't going to affect you. But it would. It would affect the overwhelming majority of people, which includes YT people. On top of this,
Wait, don't interrupt.
Yeah, I didn't. Those were the rules, I thought. Yeah, well, yeah.
He was talking to me.
Yeah. So anyway, so that argument falls flat. It falls flat immediately. And why should I have to pay taxes for sins which are not mine, even if it is the case that due to the sins of my ancestors against your ancestors that created some type of disproportionate value where you didn't have the same access to education, various things like this for a long time, so therefore black people are behind the curve, that still would have nothing to do with why I would need to pay for the sins which led to that. All I could do is assist with the equalization of the playing field. Asking me for direct compensation or monies, well, I would actually determine to be immoral.
Can I actually respond?
Wait, real quick, because Andrew, I understand your sentiment on not paying reparations and your taxes not going to that thing. So what do you say about our taxes being sent to Israel for the Jews?
Yeah, I wouldn't do that either. Yeah, I wouldn't. Well, I would eliminate all foreign policy if I could, where it came to, well, maybe not all, but at least 99% of foreign policy.
So what's the 1% that you would allow?
There could be some isolated cases where we could determine that it was for our national security interest to assist some emergent nation somewhere under really specific circumstances that I could envision. But for the most part, hang on. But for the most part, I would say that the idea of us giving money to foreign states is an equally immoral proposition.
But it's happening now, right?
Yes.
And so when you say 99% and you're okaying that 1%, you're okaying the 1% of a foreign nation rather than the other 99% that's already here, that's still living here, that's dealing with the repercussions and the ramifications of the society that we live in.
Yeah, I'm talking about things like the state gifts. There could be like state gifts or things like this for the purposes of treaties that would assist with trade, which would help all people of the United States, versus giving to a specific group based on perceived slights or things which were bad that happened to their ancestry. The other problem with this is that it opens up an infinite regress of then can I go and sue you directly or come after you directly for possible sins that your ancestors made against mine that led to opportunities that I no longer have due to the sins of ancestry, right? That would be silly, right?
Can I actually?
Not at all.
Not at all?
No.
No, so you think that we should infinitely go back and look for every type of regress that happened from your great-great-great-great-grandfather and mine for any potentiality between all races to determine if there was any type of misdoing or misdeed that happened that their ancestry down the line should have to pay for that?
You're making a long-winded sentence, and my answer still remains the same.
Yeah, but why? It's irrational, right?
It's not irrational because your taxes are paying for this right now, no matter what you say, right now. Your taxes are paying the Native Americans. They get reparations. Jewish people in Israel in a different country get reparations. The only people who have not gotten their reparations are Black Americans.
Well, first of
And
all,
so
I would
you're sitting
disagree.
here- No,
Sorry.
Andrew?
Okay, yeah. No problem. No problem. Go ahead.
No. You're sitting here saying, "Oh, my taxes shouldn't go to this," and it's not conducive to moving forward as a society. I call BS because at the end of the day, we are all living here, but America has never paid for its crime when it came to Black Americans. And so you're sitting here saying all these things in a long-winded sentence, and it makes no sense. You're making your point for all these people in here to sound good. It doesn't sound good at all. You sound insane. But if that's how you feel, that's cool. That's cool. You can stay over there with that. It doesn't mean you're right, though.
Can I actually ask him?
Okay, so I'll just give a quick rebuttal. So the rebuttal that I'd have here is you didn't actually make an argument back. All you said is because the current status quo is that things which are outside of my control, which are taxes, are going to places that I don't want them to go to, that therefore they need to also go to Black Americans based on the perception that they have that my ancestors or some relational to ancestors of somebody else did bad things to them.
So, Andrew, when did your family come over to the United States?
I'm not exactly clear on when.
Were they a part of the original colonies?
I'm not exactly sure. There's some timelines I look at where it looks like I can trace my ancestry back to that, and some where so it's somewhat confusing. I'm not exactly sure.
So, the family members that you are aware of, how far back do they go?
They go back at least trackable to the Civil War.
So that means, were they a part of the South or the North, or?
They were on both sides. So my mom's side of the people come out of Oklahoma in the South, and my dad's side comes out of the North. So they fought on both sides of the war.
Do you understand that the entire U.S. Economy thrived off of the chattel slavery, and then what happened after chattel slavery was abolished? They ended up creating private prison systems, certain laws. They built the railroads using those same prisoners, and essentially took out bonds on them and everything. Every single YT individual during those times, whether they owned slaves, owned prisoners, loaned out prisoners, rented prisoners, or were poor benefited from the white supremacy that was going on within our society. Reparations is not really targeting individuals, even though, when African Americans say that we would like reparations, it's mainly towards the government. And yes, where that does come out of your tax money, if you are paying taxes, because there are many, many individuals who are not paying taxes that are US citizens, but love to use that excuse. It's still about equality versus equity, and knowing the difference. Do you understand the difference between the two?
Yeah.
Okay, so what is equity to you?
Yeah, so the example that's most often given by progressives is that equality is an equalization. Equity would be like looking at a fence, and you can see over the fence. You put a box down so that somebody smaller than you can also see over the fence, would be the example of equity.
Okay, so you understand that it is situations that individuals who are born into from historical events or social constructs from the past.
But hang on, let me give a response real quick, post question. I reject the concept of equity being a necessity to society or even a moral ought for society. Just because you can put a box down so that somebody can see over the fence doesn't mean that we ought to do that.
I didn't ask you that.
Yeah, I know, but I answered your question to your satisfaction. I'm just giving a rebuttal.
No, I asked you what's the difference.
And I gave you the difference, yeah?
You answered it, and then you went on to interrupt me.
Well, how long are you going to be? Because if you make 5 or 6 different points, I can't possibly rebut all of them, right?
5 or 6 different points.
Yeah, so can we just do one point at a time? Maybe we can start with the equity.
That's what I was trying to do.
Well, when are you going to do that? Can we just start with equity?
Sir, can you stop complaining?
No, it's not look, it's a legitimate complaint to ask if we can go 1 point at a time.
Nice try at gaslighting. I'm asking you if you know the difference. You clarified what the difference was.
Yeah.
Now we take it to step 2.
Okay, what's step 2?
Okay. Why do you think that equity, now that you've clarified that you do not believe in equity, why do you think that equity is not deserved by a demographic of individuals who have literally been giving the short end of the stick due to white supremacy and due to the slavery? And there's different types of slavery, chattel slavery, and then we can go on with what happened during the Reconstruction era. We can go with the fact that peonage happened. And yes, while peonage did include certain white individuals, we understand that families that are Black that were in peonage were really descendants from chattel slaves. So their entire line is still going through slavery.
Okay.
And by the way,
can I answer the question now? Ever? So I'll answer your question. So
yeah, go ahead.
The idea here, when you're talking about equity specifically, I already told you, I don't believe there's any moral ought to move towards the idea of equity. I think that every single group, which you can, first of all, when you make an accumulation of groups, any group which is accumulative can put any type of postulate anything forward for some type of non-equitable factor where they feel like they are depressed against some other group or they are oppressed by another group. If this is the case, you would end up in an infinite regress of